Thank you very much, Mr. Zahra, for welcoming us to your office.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for inviting me on the program.
I'd like to focus on tourism today, tourism in Malta, and perhaps compare it to other locations like ours. We've spoken a few times about tourism, and you've always said, better, not bigger. Can you sort of expand a bit on that?
Okay, let's talk about the situation as it stands at the moment. Tourism in the Mediterranean has had an upsurge since COVID, and last year was a massive move forward. It opened up in March, and practically all of a sudden we were back to numbers that we were seeing in 2019, and consequently there were many problems with staffing levels, etc., etc. Thankfully, these were resolved throughout the 2022, and in 2023 we are looking at having reasonable staffing levels. Of course, staffing is a problem. It's a problem everywhere, not just in Malta, staffing, but at least we have resolved the major problems. You would have pockets where there are problems. So we're doing well compared to 2019, which was the peak year. We are reaching those numbers again. So in terms of arrivals, in terms of nights spent in hotels, we are probably going to be either on the same numbers of 2019 or perhaps even slightly better. It depends very much on the last 3 months of the year as to whether we'll be slightly better or slightly worse than 2019. So generally the situation is quite good in terms of arrivals, in terms of numbers, in terms of spend. We're more or less the same as 2019, slightly ahead in terms of spend, but mostly due to inflation. So we are seeing the increase in spend matching inflation. So when you take out inflation, we're more or less the same as we are in 2019.
And now we're taking a closer look at some statistics for Q2 this year, when compared year on year with pre-COVID figures. Guest nights increased by 1.7% and guest arrivals increased by 7% in Q2 this year, when compared with the same period in 2019. Here we're seeing the average length of stay, and it was slightly longer at 6.9 days in Q2, when compared to the same period in 2019, with an increase of just over 6%. Hotel room rates in Q2 this year remain strong, with the average daily rate in 5-star hotels increasing by 18.2%, 4-star hotels increasing by 10.1%, and 3-star hotels increasing by 35.4%, compared with the same period of 2019 rates. This shows the biggest increase in 3-star hotels.
Better, not bigger. Why better, not bigger? Better, not bigger, because our size is not going to get bigger. We're 330 square kilometers, tiny. And there's no way that we are going to expand the island to be 3 or 4 times the size. And we're already seeing tremendous pressure on the infrastructure. Therefore, we can't afford to grow bigger, but we can do it better. Now, doing it better is not so easy. Doing it better might be easier, bigger, it might be easier than doing it better. So we all have to do it better, not bigger.
So you're saying that the numbers are back to the pre-COVID days, in spite of airline travel being more expensive.
Yes, that is another new direction that we're seeing. The airlines suffered tremendously in the 2 COVID years. In fact, it was only due to government interventions that most of the airlines survived. And it's not just Air Malta. We're talking of huge airlines like Lufthansa, like British Airways, that took large amounts of government money in order to survive. When they returned to flying, the amount of aeroplanes they put on the routes was less than 2019. However, the demand was that of 2019. So consequently, the airlines are all experiencing huge demands, and like everything else, when there is more demand than there is supply, the price goes up. So we are seeing the price of airlines more or less reflecting what it costs to actually operate an airline. I was flying to London, and probably the taxi from London Heathrow to central London probably cost me more than the flight from Malta to London. So that gives you an indication of how cheap the flights were, and to a large extent still are if you book early.
We spoke about staffing levels. Can you go a bit into detail about that with regards to the economic model here in Malta?
Okay, we saw what was famously called the Muscat-onomics. The Muscat-onomics was based on expanding the number of people employed so that you will have a bigger economy contributing much more towards the government revenues, which also enabled the government to spend more money on various areas like social security, pensions, etc. But we went overboard. You know, we now have a situation where there is too many people on the island, and this is creating its own problems. For example, we produced a carrying capacity report which stated, as an MHRA, and it was commissioned by MHRA but produced by Deloitte. And the report stated that if we had to fill 80% of the rooms that are currently available, plus those that are in the pipeline, we would need 4.7 million tourists. So we know how much we need in order to fill 80% of the rooms for the whole of the year. Now, we also then looked at what we would need in order to service those people. Like do you have enough beaches to service those people? And the answer was no. Do you have enough capacity in the drainage system? And the answer was no. Do you have enough? So there were a lot of things that we could possibly put right, but there were certain things that only divine intervention could put right. And I'm not so sure that we can get divine intervention to put those things right in our lifetime.
Again, looking at people coming in to work in the service industry, in hospitality, can we take a look at ITS? And how do you think that younger people are attracted to this industry via ITS?
Look, the reality is that the jobs market has changed dramatically, not just in Malta, but throughout the world. So you have a situation where there are more jobs around than there are people to do those jobs. Consequently, we have a situation where an employee is today very much in a situation where he can pick and choose. Now, picking and choosing will depend on how much you're getting paid, will depend on the hours that you work, will depend on the perks that you're getting. And regrettably, the hospitality industry is not being competitive enough to attract people to its. I meet a lot of people that say, but we offer good. Well, if you offered good pay and if you offered good conditions, you will get the people to work for you. But the reality is you're in competition with a lot of other companies. And this is what the hospitality is seeing. Again, not just in Malta, it's something, a phenomena throughout a lot of countries where the job situation is like Malta, where there is more jobs available than people to do that work.
What impact do you think it has on our heritage when you, for example, go to a restaurant and most of the staff are not Maltese?
Well, the reality is that there's nothing authentic left. You know, basically, if I come to Malta, I expect to meet the Maltese. I do not expect to check in at Malta International Airport and find that there isn't a single person of Maltese origin that is checking me in or checking me onto a plane. Sorry, that is not an authentic service. I don't expect to see 100% Maltese, but at least I would expect to see some of these people that are from Malta, and same with all the other hospitalities. We are losing our authenticity by having so many non-Maltese in services, and I think that will come to haunt us in the future.
Do you think it's damaging our tourism sector, and what would the solution be for that?
Well, I've just said, Leah, it will come to haunt us in the future.
In what way?
It will come to haunt us in the future insofar as if we really want to start going up market, to have people that appreciate what we have, that can spend more, that are coming here to experience the Maltese way of life. Now, if you want those people, you need to have the Maltese there. Because why should I come to Malta and not meet anybody who's from Malta? Okay, maybe if I think, well, I have a budget of X amount only, and I don't care where it is, as long as it's got sunshine, as long as I can get some food and drink, and as long as the sun is shining. Then I'll go to Malta. But if you're a bit particular and you say, no, I have a choice of where to go because I can afford to go here, there, wherever, then you're going to go to Malta? Well,
in other words, you're saying we're catering for the mass market.
We have a product which is attracting the low-spend market.
It's very easy to say that the economic model might not be right at the moment, but how easy is it to reverse that?
It's going to be very difficult and very painful. Very difficult and very painful.
What would your recommendations be?
I wouldn't like to start giving recommendations off the cuff because that's not something that I'm comfortable in doing. We have to look at how best to do this, how to achieve this, and how to achieve this in the least, with the least possible pain. But pain there will be, for sure.
Malta is facing a serious crisis, and if the country follows in this direction, it will encounter problems both in infrastructure and in what may relate to the quality of the tourism sector. This is what MHRA President Tony Zahra stated in the Illum newspaper, explaining that the economic model being adopted by the government, where unskilled workers are being imported en masse, is not a sustainable model. The association stated that there are three problems which are detrimental to Malta's reputation as a tourist destination. The first problem the association addressed is congestion, where it was noted that due to the enormous increase in population, there is more congestion in the country and also on the roads. The MHRA said that this is unacceptable, and if the government wants Malta to remain attractive to tourists, it must take urgent action. Jobs relating to construction and infrastructure are the second problem that is being raised by the MHRA, where the association stated that these jobs are turning Malta into a permanent construction site, a country where no road or location is free from construction. The third problem focuses on the restaurant and entertainment sector that has suffered greatly due to the shortage of electricity, with many restaurants and entertainment venues having suffered losses running into thousands of euros. The lack of electricity supply has also caused damage to Malta's reputation, where a number of tourists cancelled bookings they had made. The MHRA also stated that the drainage situation in places like Bujibba and St. Paul's Bay is in a bad state, especially in the summer season, precisely because of the large number of people. The association said that it is because of these challenges that the tourism sector should not depend on quantity but on quality. As president of the MHRA, what is the reaction, the feedback you get from its members?
Look, it's very mixed. I meet very serious investors, people who spend, let's say, very large millions, who are convinced that the island can grow its numbers forever. And these are people who are spending large millions, 50 million, 100 million on a property, you know, who are others who are in the business and have been in the business a long time are a little bit cautious, and they're looking at the numbers and they're saying, well, maybe we're going to have a problem because there's too many hotels coming on the market. Mm-hmm. So it's rather a mixed bag that I get as responses from our members.
What impact do you think the construction, the cranes, the garbage sometimes that we see outside has on the tourist today?
Well, we commented on this quite recently in terms of the upkeep of the country, and the upkeep of the country leaves much to be desired. I was actually speaking to somebody a couple of days ago about the garbage collection, and the garbage collection is not working. The way it's done is not working. But the BCRS, the bottle return, has worked. So I was suggesting that we change the way that we do our garbage collection and use the BCRS model. Mm-hmm. I went into detail with this person, but clearly how we're doing it today is not working. So we start from there, the areas where we can do something which has a big effect on the country, and that will start cleaning up the country somewhat. Then we have to have a big educational campaign where we start off by saying to each and everyone, look after your small part, because if you look after yours, if everybody looks after a small part, then we get the island to be cleaner. Now we have also a bigger problem because we have a lot of third country nationals whose culture might not be the same in terms of hygiene, etc. So there we have also got to make sure that these people understand that, you know, we have to keep the country clean. It's a big problem. It's not a small problem. And finally, we need enforcement. Mm-hmm. Regrettably, government and enforcement cannot be said in the same sentence. Mm-hmm. There is no enforcement, zero enforcement. Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at education, enforcement, and integration for the foreigners who come here.
Well, I'm not sure on the third one that I would go so far, but I would say the first one is we have got to do the things that we do maybe differently, because if you do the same thing over and over again and you expect a different result, that is what madness is all about. So we have, if it's not working, we have to send another bottle. So yeah, if we find another bottle, that's good.
Mm-hmm. If we had to go back to the years before you established your hotel group, what challenges would have been different had you started your hotel group today?
The reality of the situation is I'm not sure that I would.
A statement by the MHRA in July declared that the government needs to take immediate action and address a number of difficulties that are currently affecting the tourism industry. Difficulties that could ultimately harm the identity and reputation of Malta as an authentic Mediterranean destination. The association mentioned how the problem of inadequate cleanliness in Malta is tarnishing the country's reputation. The fact that the population keeps growing requires a more serious and robust approach. The statement goes on to say that apart from this, there should be more investment in Malta's infrastructure, where construction seems to be developing in every part of the country. This is causing much inconvenience and disturbing peace. It is adding a significant traffic problem and a lot of dust. This will impact on Malta as an attractive tourist destination. The MHRA also raised concerns about the electricity supply problem, where it noted that the hospitality industry suffered not only financial losses, but also a significant loss of food, damage to appliances, and harm to the reputation of their establishments. This led to tourists taking to social media to complain about the power cuts and the number of vacations ending abruptly.
The challenges were very different. When we started out, it was a different era with a limited number of beds on the island, limited number of people coming on the island, you know. So it was a different era. I would be very seriously considering, look, going forward, I need to have something which attracts the spender to my property. Mm-hmm. And it's got to be something special, because they're not just come to the property because I'm there. They're going to come to it because it's got to be something special. So if I had to start today, I would be thinking in terms of doing it better, much, much better, rather than bigger.
Mr. Zahra, to close today, how would you compare Malta to other similar destinations like ours?
Well, I was speaking to a colleague of mine from Corsica. Corsica is a larger island, part of France. They were having a difficult summer, you know. August was 40% occupancy, not something unheard of in Corsica. So in terms of other destinations, it's not all doing very well, and we are doing well compared to other destinations as well, and better than other destinations. So our situation is quite good at the present moment. However, we have always to look forward, and we have got to make it better, not bigger.
As during COVID, you championed for locals to support the hospitality businesses, the catering businesses.
Absolutely.
Do you think, as Maltese citizens, we can support local businesses more?
Absolutely.
And in what way?
Absolutely. Look, basically, by giving custom and by encouraging wherever possible those establishments that also employ Maltese people, that have a lot of Maltese people, because we want to return the authenticity to our product as much as possible. So supporting Maltese businesses and supporting Maltese businesses that are authentic, you know, that is the way we can help our businesses.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zahra.
Thank you
for your time
Thank
today.
you. Thank you, Leah.